Hi, it's Jessi. Welcome to part 3 of my, what is the name of this book? Deadhouse Gates reading diary, because I never recorded an intro. Anyway, just jumping right into it. If you have not been following the series, check the playlist. That'll be linked up there. This is part 3 of the book. Spoilers for whatever I've read in whatever section you are listening to. I'd say it's been a while, but this is the first part of this, and I haven't read the intro yet. I have read chapters 11 and 12 so far, and I actually read them rather quickly, but I'm back to work, so filming time has kind of disappeared. But I'm reading quickly because I'm reading on the train, and it's nice. I got the audiobook going, and I read, and I just get like 50 minutes every day, if not more, an hour and a half, if I'm not exhausted, to just read this. So I'm getting through it quickly. I just don't get to get my thoughts down. So let's chapter 11. My first note is undead dragon ? What's this about? In the Warren, there was an undead dragon. It was pretty cool. There's boxes in the background. Please ignore those. Bless Gessler sees a giant dragon and waves at it. Such a mood. Did I interpret that scene wrong? Like, he just saw like a big giant skeleton dragon and was like, hey. Love him. Gessler's my favorite. Okay, I know I retracted my Bowden Felicen ship because like he's like twice her age. It's creepy, but like he saved her life. They really have like banter. I'm just saying there is a romantic skeleton there and in a different world. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just saying, I don't know if I don't know if there is something wrong with me or if there's something wrong with how Erikson is writing this dynamic. I'm just saying everything we find out about them and the more we see of them, I'm just saying. I'm still really not getting what's going on with Dancer. I assume by the time that this video has come out, somebody has explained it to me in my last video. If not, please fill me in the comments below. But what I did find really helpful was the Claw and the Talon. Claw working for what is her, Lysine, Talon kind of being not so much. But wasn't Quakeman a member of the Claw? Kalam is a Talon, right? Right? Am I mixing them up? Maybe one of them is neither of those. I am too nervous to even think of Googling anything, so I guess correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Felicen is Perrin's sister. I physically reeled on the metro. I was like reading and I went like, what? When I read this, because it was so casually mentioned. Should I have already known that? Did I miss something? Should I have already known that? Poor Opsalar, she's already had like 3 people in her head, and now they're like, but she could be Shaik too. And I think there is a mostly appropriate response to this, which is like, please leave this poor girl alone. But also like, it's her choice. I want to make it very, very, very clear, in case it is not obvious by everything I've said about them up until this point, but in a fight between Iskarol Pust and Crocus, I'm rooting for Iskarol Pust. I want him to win. He can kill Crocus for all I care. I will take this kooky little priest with very dubious motivations over the moody teenage boy any day. Thank you, Fiddler, for telling Crocus to stop making decisions for Apsalar. And like, I don't care that she made the same decision that Crocus was advocating for. That's not his job. Emperor Iskarol Pust, you said? Crazy plan. My notes are JK, but this plan be wild, and just getting ready to go back to teaching. I try not to look things up, as I just mentioned, but I did look up what the Bokhara look like because I really wanted. I have trouble visualizing creatures sometimes. There is a really large range from really cute to really cursed fan art. I'm going to continue to pretend they're cute because those little imp men, no. I really like Manala. She really takes everything in stride. Like, is this where, yeah, like, Kalam just casually summons a Warren to a creepy ash plane of death, and she's like, yeah, whatever, this is what we're doing now. Pearl doesn't seem like somebody to trust. Whether he is actually a member of the Claw, which means that he's just trouble for Kalam, or if he's completely lying out of his own agenda, I don't really know, but I definitely don't trust him at all. Right, and then going on to thoughts on chapter 12. Look, I know this is like such an unimportant note. Why did I make this note? Did I think I was being funny? Sorry, I started reading it and then I was like, wait a minute, is this actually important? And now I'm having a... Anyway, I know it's perfectly normal to call wild, non-domesticated goats feral, but it just doesn't sound right. Moving on. Okay, given his position, Coltrane going for an all-or-nothing approach makes as much sense to me as anything. They're in a situation where, like, things are pretty hopeless. They're going to die one way or another. So rather than just, like, letting the Malazan, having the Malazans slowly fade and be killed, going for these, like, all-out attacks where it's like, if we succeed, we've beat them back, we've earned ourselves more time, and if we lose, well, we were gonna die anyway. I like it. Go big, go home kind of thing, except going home isn't an option. It's go big or die. Except maybe go big and die. Still not rooting for the Malazans. And I really only like Coltrane because I don't think he's entirely loyal to Lysine. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping for it because I like him. This little backstory for Diker is really cute. The whole, like, he became the training with Talk the elder and stuff. And I do really miss Baby Talk the younger. It's just too late for me to start caring about Diker now. It's too late. The thing about Diker's point of view is that he's got this outsider point of view, right? He's an observer, which I normally really, really like this outside observer that gets pulled into the action sometimes. The problem is that I don't care about what Diker is observing, and the moments that I do care about it, I wish we had a more active participant, I guess, which sounds weird because, like, again, I'm saying I like the observer thing. I just don't like Diker's observations, I guess. Dehydrating, dying Hiboric sounds a lot like Iscarel Pust. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's a thought and I'm gonna note it. Similarity between Pust and Hiboric. It is clear that Icarium has some sort of legend status, some sort of significance around him. And I cannot decide if I really wish I knew what that already was, right? The characters all clearly know this thing about him that we, the readers, don't know, and he, Iscarel, doesn't know. Not Iscarel, Icarium doesn't know. But I also kind of like this weird reversal of irony where the characters know something that the reader doesn't. And not in, like, an unreliable narrator, right? Like, we know they know this thing. And it's not like they're thinking about, you know what I mean? It's not like there's just information we're not given. Like, this is just something we have no reason to know yet, if that makes sense. I think it's going to ultimately depend on the reveal. If that reveal doesn't make the anticipation feel worth it, then I'm not going to like it. And I'll wish I had already known, so I could be in on the joke with the characters. I like how you know, these notes, I'm writing them over the course of like 3 or 4 days, right, while I read this. So this note was written like 3 or 4 days after the last one, but I really like Manala. But she and Felicin, in a way, really highlight one of my main struggles with this series, and a lot of epic fantasy written by explicitly men, white men, is that all of the main women character, of which there's like 3, the backstories are all colored with some sort of abuse or trauma in a way that men don't. Like, Keneb, you know, Manala's brother-in-law, is just a soldier. Crocus was never abused as a child, but Felice and Apsalar, Manala, all have these tragic backstories. Like, Apsalar's is kind of different, but even she was, like, at a young age captured and, like, turned into something she didn't want to be. And the fact that there are, like, 3 female characters that matter that I can name. I mean, there were more in the last book that don't stick with me. It didn't really stick with me. And obviously there's Lysine, but we're gonna, I'm sure, find out more about her later. It sits uneasy with me. I don't really understand Apt at all. What on earth are his motivations? No clue. I'm not supposed to. I don't think so. I don't think we're supposed to know yet. But that's my thoughts for now. I'll be back soon. I really am just exhausted and not in the mood to film this clip. But if I don't film this clip now, I can't read on the train tomorrow. Or at least I can't read this. I could read this. And as much as I want to, as tempting as that is, I really do want to finish reading Deadhouse Gates at some point. I should get the book out. Okay, here's my teacher bag. Anyway, Deadhouse Gates. Let's jump into it. I accidentally finished part 3. I didn't realize how short it was. Also, there's only 4 parts in this, right? I'm not crazy. Yeah, well, in the epilogue, that's a huge chunk left for part 4. Anyway, I'm not sure how I feel about this interaction with Lenestro. So this is when Diker, like, talks to one of the refugee, noblemen and is like, your servant, why are you abusing them? And they're like, the servant stole from me or something. I know it's good that Diker is standing up to him and like saving somebody's life, always good. But I think there's this like thin line, slippery slope. All of these phrases have been co-opted by awful people. But you get the idea that like, I think it's concerning when you have somebody using a show of force. You know, I'm a soldier and I am saving your life. I am protecting your life. I decide if you live or die, right? I think it's just concerning having that soldiers or whatever defy the law and using the fact that they're protecting you to justify their actions, right? In this case, Diker is using that for a good reason. The law he seems to be breaking, at least as far as I could understand it. I don't know, because, like, if I understand that interaction correctly, Diker is saving a servant that stole from this guy. But, like, he stole because let's not get into property and how stealing can be moral and all of that. That's nuance I don't feel like getting into. Regardless, I think it's clear to say, like, the servant did not deserve to die. So, insofar as that, I think it's fine for Diker to be saving his life. It can be used for bad, you know? So it gives me this like, oh, I don't know about that kind of feeling. We find out here there's like Diker, that scene at the end of the last section I read, the last chapter, the demon horse, or whatever his name is, like saved a battle from going well. Was that the same raid that Diker observed with when they found out that like the leader wasn't actually the leader, it was really this wizard boy? Because somehow I missed that detail if it was revealed before this moment. I would die for Tamul is the funniest note I have on here because I don't remember who that is. So there's that. So I happen to have paused my reading. So like I read on the train, on the metro. I have about 40 to 60 minutes in the morning, 40 to 60 minutes in the afternoon, usually less in the afternoon because usually I have a coworker riding on the train with me and we chat, that I read. Sometimes I don't always read in both of those times if I'm like really tired and I know I can't focus. I bring this up to say that like I paused Friday morning on my way to work. I don't think I read on my way home from work. Maybe I did. No, I don't think so. And I didn't read again until Tuesday morning going into work because I had plans all weekend, so I didn't read. And on Monday, I drove to work instead of taking the metro. All of that to say there was a very long pause. And I come back in, and Diker is like victim blaming dead soldiers. He's like, oh, it's better to be dead than to be alive. And how dare they make me feel guilty for not knowing their names? And it's like, dude, yikes. Every time there's one of these really complicated battle sequences, I find myself just wishing I had a map so I could track what was happening. Like this was like, they charged up the hill and then down the hill and there was a wedge and there was a slope and I don't know. But from my understanding at the very end of it is that like the Malazans, I was going to say the good guys, but I really feel uncomfortable calling the Malazans the good guys. The good guys won. The Malazans won. What is the name of the guy? It's one of those K names. Anyway, he won, but he also like intentionally got a bunch of people killed from my understanding of it, which is like ballsy move. So Kalam finally got out of the warren, and when he gets there, he, like, ends up in an inn, and there's a guy there that's like, I got a ship for you, but, like, in a weird way. So, like, if I'm understanding correctly, Quickban, like, arranged all this. Like, he predicted what Kalam would do and was, like, prepared for it, and it's making me increasingly uneasy about Quickban, about, like, the control he has, about how much he's aware of everything, and it just kind of makes you wonder why he's not doing more. It just makes me uneasy. I really like Manala. I think I made that very, very, very clear. I really like Manala, and I'm not, like, unhappy that she's following Kalam and therefore probably becoming a more central character, or at least sticking around for longer. Assuming she doesn't die, which I'm not convinced of. I actually would not be surprised if she dies before the end of this book. But saying she's, doesn't die, and she sticks around for a while, I'm all for that, but I'm just not understanding why. And I really hope it's not just because of this weird crush she has on Kalam, because, like, so far, the story has made it very, very clear she is into him, and he's not, like, in the right mind space for that. But we really haven't gotten anything else about Manala's motivations. Like, it seems really weird for her to just suddenly ditch her family that she felt very responsible for Kalam. Not sure I like that, but I do like Manala. Okay, and then the last chapter. I don't have the chapter numbers, I could tell you. No, it's too much of a pain to look. Felice and honey, you don't need a cause. Okay, she, like, was railing about how causes are pointless and yada, yada, yada. But you do need something to live for, otherwise, like, what's the point? And, like, obviously she is mildly suicidal. And at some point I thought she was going for revenge, but against, like, what's his name? Bowden and Hiboric, but she seems to have gotten over Hiboric, and Bowden left, and now she's not feeling that, and so now she just doesn't have anything. But, like, she needs something to wake up to in the morning, like, some reason to get out of bed, oh, honey. They met that weird guy, and I just wrote, who is this? Giving Iskarel Pust vibes. Then we find out later it's the divers, which is, like, gross. Culp's death was just very abrupt. I didn't really feel anything about it. I think at this point there's just been so many random deaths around Hiboric and Felicen that one more doesn't really have impact, though it's somebody we knew a little bit better, I knew Bowden wasn't really gone forever. First off, Steve, how dare you? This was about just, like, Felicen's whole, like, breaking down. Oh, my air conditioning turned on. Felicen's whole, like, she has armor up, blah, 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 and then it's, like, there's, like, a line towards the end of this section about, like, how even when somebody has armor, there's still something inside that armor. It was very sad. Second, I'm done pretending there isn't something between Felicen and Bowden. Like, something I would interpret as emotional connection, right? But, like, deeper emotional connection than just, like, they care about each other, right? And maybe it was supposed to give across, like, big brother, little sister vibes. Maybe it was supposed to give off father-daughter vibes. Not actually romantic vibes. It gave off romantic vibes to me. Maybe it's just because I've been reading more romance and that's where my mind automatically goes. Maybe because I am so conditioned by society to think boy plus girl equals romance. I don't know. It gave off romantic vibes to me. But you will not convince me that this man did not care for her. I also am not really convinced she's dead. But regardless, you will not convince me that this man did not have some sort of feeling of affection towards her. Might not have been romantic, but he had something. Anyway, I'm really fascinated by the theme here. I don't know. At the end of Gardens of the Moon, you have Apsalar being freed from being possessed. And then at this book is moving to a point. It's not over yet, but she is choosing possession. And I think they both end up really having themes of agency, if just in very different ways. Because all through Gardens of the Moon, she had no control over herself. She had no agency. And she gets freed from that. But really, for most of this book, she hasn't had agency either, because the people, men, Crocus, the people in her life that really care about her aren't really giving her that agency. They're making decisions for her. Like, unclear to me from what I remember, she asked to go meet her father, but like they're dictating how, things like that. And so I think there's a level of her claiming agency, her seizing agency for herself by choosing to let Shay possess herself, possess her. Does that make sense? I actually am super into it, and I know we have one more part left and we'll see what comes of that, but I actually really like that for her. So good job, Absalar. And that brings us to the end of this one. I still haven't recorded an intro, and $10 says I'll forget until I'm editing. But that's the end of this one. As always, subscribe so you can see when the next one comes out, and I love y'all. Bye.